Welcome to the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, your launch pad for skyrocketing success in real estate investing. I'm your host, Gabe Rodarte, alongside Mark Monroe. We're ready to bring you transformative stories, groundbreaking strategies, and the insider secrets of real estate giants. Get ready to accelerate your investment journey and become a true power player in the world of real estate.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Real Estate Power Play. I'm your host this week, Mark Monroe, and I'm excited. This week, we're going to be really gearing towards our topic to business owners, or if you're getting ready to be a business owner. But we actually have Philip, and and you were just talking about with payment collection. And Deirdre, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, the company a little bit? And I know we were just talking briefly how we met a few years back, and when your girlfriend was looking to buy a property here in Boca Raton. So welcome, guys, and go ahead and introduce yourself into your company as well.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Philip Holland. I'm the CEO of Payment Collect, a company that I started back in 2010. And with the idea of saving merchants money, basically in the payment processing. And little did I know how complex this industry is. I've been in this industry since about 2001, and it took me several years to master this. And I would love to pass the knowledge that I have accumulated to you guys.
Okay, perfect. Very nice, very nice. So, yeah, I mean, I've used some credit card merchant processing for quite some time through the different businesses throughout the years, and it all comes down to the customer service. That's what I've always found. So you got into it and you said 2001, so you've been into it for over 20 years. Is that what I got out of it?
So Payment Collect has been in business since 2010, but I have another company, a Canadian company that specializes also on telephone payments and automation. That's been in business since 1000, sorry, we're gonna have to edit this, since 1994. So we've been processing business. I'm sorry. We've been processing payments since 1994. Payment Collect came to exist in 2010. And it's funny how it came to be. I used to work or have a relationship with Harlan Payment Systems through my business in Canada. And here at the gas station in North Carolina, the car next to me had a sign on the door that said Harlan Payment Systems. So I introduced myself and invited him to have lunch with me, and we talked about his needs. And one of the needs was basically payment processing for QuickBooks. QuickBooks used to be very, very expensive and have a monopoly, and no solution existed for QuickBooks point of sale. So they asked me if I could develop one. And it took me about 6 months to figure out that there was a way around it, not intended by Intuit by any means. And once I created the solution, then Harlem made about 1,100 people, salespeople that they had dedicated, they made the solution available to them. And that's how Payment Collect came to be. Obviously, the industry has changed quite a bit, including QuickBooks itself. So there's been a lot of changes, both in the industry and in the software that we develop.
Got it. So when you say software you develop, so you're collecting it on your end and then you're running it through the back end, like through Visa, Amex, et cetera. Is that, from what I'm understanding, how that works?
I will get into how it works in more detail in a little bit, but just to summarize it, so Payment Collect created a software that integrates into QuickBooks itself and allows you to process payments within QuickBooks, bypassing the Intuit merchant services so that you can actually save money compared to Intuit. So what ended up happening is basically we circumvented the whole Intuit network. So we had to integrate the Payment Collect software into QuickBooks, but we also had to integrate it into the payment terminal. The payment terminal communicated with the payment processor. And so basically that's how it happened. Once we got a response about your transaction, if it was approved, we posted the payment information back into QuickBooks, and the transaction was basically saved.
Got it. So you're built inside QuickBooks. That's pretty cool, because I remember years ago we were using it, and I think we ran it through Intuit. So you're kind of, I believe at the time Intuit was QuickBooks back in, I don't know, this was many, many years ago, I think like 2010. So, so you guys are one of the vendors inside QuickBooks.
No, not exactly. QuickBooks actually hated us for a while. So QuickBooks never intended for this to happen. I mean, they never intended for anybody to circumvent into merchant services. So, but what we discovered is that the QuickBooks solution basically was two solutions in one. One is the QuickBooks POS software, and the other side of it was the Intuit Merchant Services. Now they happen to combine both into the same solution, but we figure out a way to break them apart.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So it still works. So is it work on like the website version? Is that how it works? The QuickBooks?
You mean QuickBooks Online? Yes, we do have a version for QuickBooks Online. But let me talk a little bit about the Intuit changes that they've been doing over the years. So I'm not sure if you're familiar, but they killed QuickBooks Point of Sale about 3 years ago. It used to be one of the bestseller products they had. And I suspect the reasons why they killed it. I don't have any confirmation on any of them, but the fact is that they killed QuickBooks POS, and they also started making significant changes to the QuickBooks desktop accounting. So they eliminated some of the versions. In essence, what they're trying to do is move everybody to QuickBooks Online. That's their ultimate goal.
Got it. That makes sense. Interesting. So that's cool that you built it inside and trying to go head to head with QuickBooks, because I know they were trying to monopolize Intuit in their own system. So that's pretty slick. That worked and you got in there. So did they kick you? I'm assuming at one time when they were mad at you or didn't like you, they were trying to figure ways how to stop you from using their system, but you guys kind of went through it. So that's awesome. Congratulations.
They tried so many different ways to stop us, but what is interesting is towards the end, they wanted to work with us. In essence, if merchants were asking like, what solution can I use to process payments, then they will send it to us, which was unusual. I don't think that was endorsed by corporate. I think this was the individual support people that were actually referring them to us. But going back to what I was saying, QuickBooks killed point of sale. We still have a few hundred merchants still using QuickBooks point of sale because it was a great solution. It had a lot of features. It was easy to use. And the merchants that we still have that are using it are very advanced merchants. They use very advanced features within QuickBooks. And that's why they're still with us. They try different solutions. They didn't work for them. So what we ended up doing is about 2.5, 3 years ago, we started developing a web-based point of sale that runs on any hardware and is very similar in look and feel and feature as QuickBooks POS is. So in essence, anybody that wanted to use a QuickBooks POS and transition to us, they can do it. It's fully compatible with QuickBooks POS and other QuickBooks products, but it can also be used in standalone mode.
Got it. So you can use a web version or you can use a standalone piece of equipment, like if you're at a gas station and they have the piece of equipment there and kind of go into it. So you have both versions of it.
Our software is mostly designed for retail businesses. That's what QuickBooks POS was intended to be. We have continued expanding the features of the product beyond what Intuit had done. So in essence, we have integration to e-commerce. So you can it automatically syncs with Shopify, for example, both ways. Every single piece of data that you can imagine is synced both ways. QuickBooks never had that ability. We also fully integrated into QuickBooks Online so that if you have a hybrid model where you have, sales, card present transaction sales that you need a point of sale, but you also have a backend side of the business that creates invoices, then you can also use that. So we're fully integrated. Whatever you have in QuickBooks Online, it will be reflected in the payment collect POS and vice versa. So, and we also support multi-store and a lot of features that Intuit had a little bit of difficulty with.
Got it. Now, do you also, because I know the big one out there is Salesforce, do you guys do some stuff with their systems? Like they do a lot of marketing and I think they do some stuff like that. I know that's the big company out there. I don't know. But I'm assuming if not, they have their side in Salesforce, and then they can take the data and like APIs over to your platform or something to that effect through the websites.
So Salesforce is a very large corporation. The solutions are not intended for small, medium businesses. They're intended for very large businesses. We took a different approach. We went on, after the market that is medium, small to medium, and sometimes large, but they don't require the complexity of an ERP system like Salesforce or NetSuite, for example.
Yep.
Those are very expensive, sophisticated solutions. Most merchants don't need, the majority of them don't need those features. And so we intended to go after a different market. However, if somebody's using any other product and wants to downsize or something a little more friendly or that can act as a front end to QuickBooks Online, definitely we can take that data and populate our database directly with the customer data and the inventory and so on.
Smart. So when they, like, say for example, the gas station or store owner, they have the equipment, like what's that look like? Is there a charge for that equipment, and is there like a term, like a contract term?
Excellent question. So let me talk a little bit about the model that other companies are using. So let's separate the merchant service providers into two types. The ones that are fully integrated, so they provide you with their proprietary hardware and their proprietary software, and they keep you captive into their ecosystem. So there are advantages to that model and disadvantages. The advantage is that you get everything from a single company, and you know that it's going to work. If you have any support or need any support, they're going to be able to support you without having to go to a third party. Now, I will talk about the disadvantages of that model in a moment, but the other model is smaller merchant service providers that they don't own the software. So when you need a specific solution, they have kind of like a database of solutions that they can offer to you. Now, that is great because they don't keep you hostage. You can use different solutions. The downside is, like, if you ever need any kind of support, then they don't master the software. They don't know the software. So you're going to be being passed from one place to another place, trying to figure out what is wrong and who can resolve it. In most businesses, that's okay if you have the time to do that. But when you're processing payments, getting your solutions quickly is important. Now, going back to the large businesses that are fully integrated, so part of the problems is that they want to keep you captive. So how do they do that? They give you their equipment almost at no cost sometimes, or a very low cost. And now you're tied. You're tied not just to their equipment, but to their merchant processing cost. And by the way, the processing of payment processing cost is the biggest source of revenue they have. So they don't want to lose that. But if you are part of that ecosystem, you have no control or power to negotiate that, because moving to another solution means that you will end up paying exorbitant fees for the equipment once you decide to give it up or to switch. You cannot return it, so you have to buy it, and it's very expensive. They're also going to hit you with early termination fees. There are many tricks that big companies are using, and I would like to talk to you about it, because most people have no idea how to select the right solution or the right merchant service provider.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So, yeah, like, because I know, like, sometimes when you're trying to sign up for a merchant account, they have different levels, and like they have different risk levels, and sometimes you can't get approved. Like, I know one time I do like some education, and some merchants like, oh, you're considered a higher risk because you're doing online education where people can go on, and I guess they go on and because they're putting a credit card into the system, to the website, and then sometimes some of these people go on and they take their course and then they do a chargeback, and that's considered a high risk from what I understand. I don't know if you guys experienced in that type of field before, or like you mainly focus more on the smaller business like gas stations and stores.
No. So let's talk about that. So it is a very complex business. Anything that has to do with payments is extremely complicated. Part of the complications come from supporting a model that started in the 50s and being adding to it and making changes as it goes while still having to support the old model. The other part of it is they want to protect the revenue. So it's a very monopolistic model, and they're trying to protect the revenue at all costs. So let's talk about the merchant processing cost. There are many. Do you know what the interchange is, or maybe I should get into what interchange is to explain it
Yeah,
to
why
the
don't
audience.
you explain that to the listeners?
When someone processes a payment, it flows from the hardware, most likely from a payment terminal. It goes to a payment processor. From the payment processor, then goes to the card branch and the issuing bank. And then if the card is approved, then the issuing bank will put the money into your account once the batch is closed. Now, so there are multiple people that are involved that need to make money. The payment processor, the card branch, the merchant service provider, all of them. Now, the biggest cost in payment processing really is the interchange, which is the card branch cost of processing a payment. It gets reviewed and revised every 6 months. It's so complex that when you look at it in Excel, it's over 100 pages long. You may wonder, why is it so complicated? So what happens is they bill people based on different criteria or merchants. One is the MCC code, which is basically the type of merchant, the category of the business it is. So transportation is different from retail, is different from utility. So there are hundreds of MCC codes. So for each one, they have a price table. Then the other part of it is how was the transaction done? Was it swipe? Was it tapped? Was it keyed? Was it a chip? Was it via e-commerce? That is important to them because it determines the risk. So if it is through e-commerce, it could be a stolen card, a card that was stolen in the black market and somebody's trying to put a transaction through. If it's swipe, then the magnetic stripe on the card could be cloned, so you don't know that the card was legit or not. When it comes to tap and chip, that is very hard to duplicate, so it's safer. So therefore, the safer it is for the issuing bank, the lower the transaction fee is going to be for the merchant. So that's part of it. The other part of it is you can see over the years the cards migrate, or the different types of credit cards. So you have the standard credit card, you have the premium, you have the points, you have the cashback. What merchants don't know is that when somebody pays you with one of those, let's say cashback cards, let's say 5% rewards, it is the merchant who's paying that 5%. It doesn't come out of Visa. Visa and MasterCard never take a loss. So all those premium cards, it is the merchant that pay for them. And so that's why it gets so complicated.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Absolutely. And that's part of the problem, that there is no transparency. Then you have the mix of debit and PIN debit. That also is a different game by itself. So now you can see why it's so complicated.
Nice. So yeah, I never knew that, like the merchant pays that. So that's very interesting. So like, what is the difference? Like, let's talk a little bit about your company, Payment Collection versus another company. How do you guys stand apart? Like what makes you guys stand out different from other processing companies?
Well, let's talk about the biggest factor, or the biggest pain for the merchants, which is the cost of payment processing. So what happens is the interchange cost is the same for everybody with the same business category. No different. You cannot negotiate that. But there is a markup component that when a business creates a merchant account, there is a markup component that is defined by the merchant service provider. So that markup component is what the merchant service provider is going to keep for themselves. So why do they keep that? Is to compensate the sales force, to compensate for support and their operations and so on. So we've seen that component, which is a fixed cents and a percent, escalate in some cases up to 5% when the true cost of interchange is about 2%. 2 to 2.1%. So there is an extra 3% that some of the merchants have been paying over time without knowing. So what happens is with Payment Collect, we're vertically integrated. So what that means is that we can help you with the software because we own the software. And we can support you with your hardware. Any issues that you have with the payment terminal or with your device, we can help you with. And we also give you the merchant account. So what happens is we have no third party to compensate for the software that goes on your site. We don't have to pay somebody for support. So being fully integrated helps us in so many ways. Like, for example, if you have any particular issue, we can solve it immediately without having to transfer you to different levels of support or different telephone numbers until the issue is figured out. So that is a big saving and a big thing for merchants. All of our support is based in the US. But putting aside the support, if you need specific needs or changes to the POS, you don't have to wait for months until the third party actually makes those changes. If they make those changes, we have our own team. We can make those changes happen quickly. But the most important part is in the merchant account. Since we don't have to compensate all the people, all the parties for the software or for their components, we can afford to actually reduce the cost throughout. In fact, actually, that's another important point. So when you sign with a merchant service provider, because the deal is actually conducted by the agent or the sales representative, their interest is to maximize his personal revenue. We don't have that. That is a conflict of interest. We don't have that conflict of interest, so we can afford to reduce the fees all around. Which actually, that one of the most important things that I get asked is what to look when selecting a merchant service provider or a solution. If you want, I can talk about it now.
Yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about that for a business owner that's, I had two questions. What selecting one, and then like if I'm already with a company, what's the benefit for me to move that company over to your company if I'm going to be charged with all these cancellation fees? Let's talk about both of those if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So what to look when you're looking for a merchant service provider? The first thing that I would look for is if the equipment is proprietary. I know if the equipment is proprietary, then I want to know exactly what the cost of the equipment is. If the equipment is given to me at the low cost or for free, I want to know, what would be the cancellation terms. Also, I would like to know next, what is the minimum length of contract? So what is becoming more prevalent is that the contract is a long-term contract, mostly about 3 years long. So if you were to cancel for whatever reason you wanted to cancel, there are steep fees. I've seen fees in the range of up to $3,000. And also another introduction that I've seen lately is the auto renew. So in the industry before, if you had a one contract or a 3-year contract, after the contract expired, you were on a month-to-month. That's no longer the case. So now you have contracts that auto renew for another same period, which is a big issue. The other thing that companies should be aware of is what are the fees that they will be paying per month in addition to the hardware or the use of the POS. So there are multiple fees. These companies, they provide you with the hardware and the software. They're going to charge you on a monthly basis for the use of the hardware unless you purchase it. They're going to charge you on a monthly basis for the software. So you want to know what those fees are. And you want to know exactly how much you're going to pay in merchant processing. Most of the time, they don't give you the full story. Only when you come on board, you start seeing some of those additional fees. So it's important to get a full disclosure of all the fees.
Okay.
If you wanted to switch to another company, what are the fees that you have to pay, not just for the early termination, but do you have to purchase the equipment? Can you return the equipment? In most cases, they make you buy the equipment back. Then the next one, and nobody asked for this because nobody understands merchant processing and interchange and the interchange markup. So is your price locked? And if it's locked, for how long? What that means is that they're not going to keep increasing your pricing. So you sign up for the first 6 months at a specific rate, and 6 months down the road, you're going to find out that your rate is much higher, like the case that I mentioned to you about 5%. So it is important that merchants negotiate that in advance and they lock the price.
So you're saying that merchants have the capability to negotiate, making sure they're locked in. So, because most of us just sign, they don't pay attention to that.
Correct. That's the biggest issue. So they're being given one rate, and people assume that that's what they're going to be paying, only to find out that not just the existing rate gets increased after a few months, but also new fees get introduced. So,
okay.
And those fees are just only profits, strictly profit. So it is important to get those in advance and negotiate those.
Okay, that's good to know. So what is that's a really good nugget there that for business owners that we didn't know that that's possible, negotiating. A lot of times it's like you call around and they say, oh, I'll give you this rate. So it's kind of like a credit card, the teaser rate. You get it at one place and then afterwards it adjusts up, just like some of the credit card companies. Oh, no payment, no interest for a year, and then a year later then it adjusts. So it's kind of the same concept.
Correct. And what happens is most of the time merchants don't actually discover that until it's too late. Because what happens is they don't give you the statements, they don't email you the statements. They make it convoluted for you to get the statements. So you have to log in into a site and enter different codes, and they don't make it easy. So what happens is by law they have to disclose that there will be an increase or a new fee, but it's embedded into the small print into that statement that nobody gets to see. So by the time they see it, it's already too late.
Got it. Okay. So that's good to know. Is there anything else that is like that a merchant should know when they're shopping, or like any little like secret sauce? I mean, that was a pretty good nugget there. Is there anything else that another good tip?
Let me think about it for a moment. So we talk about the hardware. We talk about the equipment. Yeah, there are little nuggets to know. So right now, when you acquire a solution today, it will fit your needs for today. But everything is changing rapidly. A few years ago, we didn't have Shopify or e-commerce. You also want to know that whatever solution or company you're buying into has their own developers, and it doesn't rely on a third party that provides them with the software, and your software can become obsolete, which is kind of like what happened with the QuickBooks POS software. So merchants ended up being stuck because the solution was not kept up to par with the competing products and the industry needs.
Interesting. Okay, that's good to know. So I know we're getting ready to come to an end here, but is there a question that I did not ask that I should have asked?
Let me talk about the different issue. So, what are customers usually afraid when changing credit card companies? So, what they're afraid of is that their software might not work with a new processor, the cost of hardware replacement, the cost of migrating their existing data to a new solution, the cost of gift card migration, future-proof solutions. They want to make sure that it's going to work with future operating systems and Windows updates or Mac, that they're going to get timely and reliable support, that they're not going to be a victim of deceiving practices or price increases or new fees. So just wanted to talk about what we do here. So we came with a very specific, and we develop our own POS with a very specific criteria. We wanted something that would not be hardware specific. So as long as you have a web browser on that hardware, you can run the payment collect POS, no problem. So you're not hostage to any hardware. You can buy whatever you need and whatever you want. Data migration. So it's easy. If you're using QuickBooks, it automatically syncs with any QuickBooks product. If it doesn't, we can easily do that. We can migrate the data, no problem. If people don't like the payment collect solution for whatever reason, we don't hold them hostage. We don't have an early termination fee. They don't have no hardware to buy from us. So future-proof solution. Yes, we have our own team of developers, so we always keeping up with the developer. They're full-time, and we're always developing and making the product better. Our product is not a victim of Windows updates or upgrades or any operating system because it runs on a web browser. We have our own support, so you get not just US support, but the same person that answers your call is going to be able to solve the issue, whatever the issue is, whether it has to do with payments, it has to do with budgets, has to do with funding, or with the hardware itself. We're going to get it resolved quickly and easily.
Got it. And like, say somebody's trying to do dispute, trying to steal from you, you guys work with your merchants on trying to help them fight. Like if somebody's trying to do a charge, sometimes we get crazy chargebacks.
Yeah.
I knock on wood, I haven't, but I've seen it like in the past. Like, hey, I remember I had a business where we gave them over $12,000 of product of like our marketing, and they tried doing a chargeback on all of them. I'm like, what are you talking about? Here's the recording phone calls, as a product sell. And that was a little bit of a fight. So you guys, I'm assuming your company works with them, the merchants on those.
We absolutely do. And another side of this is that we can act as consultants to our clients, which these big companies don't do. They don't have the knowledge into a very small group of people that can actually give that. Let me give you an example. We have one very large client that manufactures bricks. And one of the common scams is that they pay over the phone and they have the bricks delivered to a different address. So the address where the delivery takes place is not the cardholder address. So even though it was the right cardholder, the fact that they deliver to a different location allows the cardholder to actually put a chargeback. So they didn't know how to deal with this. So we help them solve the issue. So it's a complicated industry. We are the experts at it. So anything that anybody has an issue or wants to, or is concerned about what is the best way to implement or run their business, we're here to help.
Got it. Okay, good stuff. So like, if somebody wants to reach out to you, know a little bit more about your company, what's the best way for them to reach out to you all?
Well, Dagmara is here with us in this call. So Dagmara is an amazing resource for us. She's very, very well prepared, and she loves to talk to customers and merchants. So you can always reach Dagmara by calling us at 828-214-5550 or by emailing support at or sales@paymentcollect.com or at support@paymentcollect.com.
Okay, perfect. And repeat. Go ahead. You want to say something? Go ahead, jump in.
Yes, it's a pleasure to meet everyone, and I would love to be able to help you with finding out what is possible for your exact business. Since I am the person who talks to the customers a lot on an everyday basis, we receive statements from the customers that have ridiculous fees, markups that they were not even aware of. So what we do, we analyze the last two merchant statements from our clients, and we are able to prepare a complementary analysis of savings for them. And this is a huge awakening moment for every business owner, since they were not even aware how much they were paying, how many fees were hidden, and what can be actually achieved. So I would actually love Philip, who is our CEO, to talk a little bit about the fees that we were able to save for our customers, since people think that this is something very little, and that very little amount will not be worth the effort of changing the company. And they can be not more wrong. Philip, would you like to disclose some numbers, what we were able to achieve for some of our customers in terms of saving them money monthly or yearly?
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. We don't have screen share, so I cannot show you, but let me bring a couple of proposals here. I was looking into that this morning. And here is a merchant. This is average. This merchant is average. So this particular merchant process, let me see here. 250. Well, it's a large volume, $259,000 a month, and we were able to save them $123, which is small. It's still annual savings of $1,500. So this price was very, very competitive, and we were still able to save them money. Now let's take a very different scenario. This merchant processed $467,000 a month, and we were able to save them $6,800 every month. That's a total savings of $82,000 a year. Not two merchants are the same. So basically, when you're working with sales agents, they want to maximize their profitability. Here is another one. It's a smaller merchant, and let me see. This process only $18,000 a month. We were still able to save them $111 a month, which is $3,300 a year. So there is no perfect rule. This is why we actually look at the different statements and tell them exactly how much you're paying. It is a science to understand the statements and tell them what the cost is and how much is being charged. This is something that we master over the years, and anybody that is curious about it, we can certainly help them.
So you just you find when a merchant reaches out to you, you get their current statements and just analyze them and kind of go through and see what their savings are going to be. Sounds like.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And very often the customers are so surprised because they never thought that they can actually negotiate the fees or that their fees can be lower. Those salespeople have sales techniques that are trying to convince the customers that this is the only way to go and this is the only fee that they can pay and there's nothing else. But the truth is that a lot of things can be accomplished. Just the customers need to be able to be open to possibilities that their business can be charged at different fees. And they're more than welcome to reach out to us with the merchant statements, and we will be more than happy to analyze them and present the real numbers for their particular business so that they can see what can be done in their case.
Perfect. Great. And once again, what's the best way how they could reach out to you all?
Dagmara?
So I would love to be able to welcome all the clients, all the audience that is listening to us right now. And my number is in the office 828-214-5550 or sales or support at paymentcollect.com. And we will answer the emails or calls very promptly, whatever challenges they have, whatever questions do you guys have, you are more than welcome to basically ask. And if you decide after the numbers that you would like to join our company, then we have also a special bonus for your audience, Mark. We have prepared a special bonus for the people that would like to join us within the next week or reach out with their statements to us next week. We are offering them 2 months complimentary service. And this is what we would love to do for your audience, Mark. So I know you have been very connected within your industry, so we would love to do something special for your industry.
Okay. So I know this is going to be replayed, so some people listen to this like a couple weeks after the fact. So I think you guys can still help those people too, I'm assuming. Because if you're listening to us,
Mark,
just reach out and they'll definitely work, and just let them know that you heard this on the podcast or one of the social media platforms, and just reach out within a week when you watch this and listen to it. So you guys have been great. This was really, really informative. I've learned quite a bit of information on this. So I can't thank you guys enough for coming on and really helping everybody in the real estate community here. So so thank you guys so much. All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Great.
And can I add something, Mark?
Absolutely.
So also what differentiates our company from the other companies is the fact that we have all-in-one approach, which means that there is only one point of contact, single point of contact, which is very important for the customer. What that means for the customer is that when the customer has a challenge with the transaction, since we are a software company, we see every step of the way of the transaction from the beginning to the end. We do not need to reach out to the third parties that might be overseas. There might be a time difference. There might be a language barrier. So we are able to address the challenges that whatever will arise very promptly, and it's very important because we see where the problem is with the transaction. A lot of those companies consist of 3 different points of contacts, and you never know who you need to reach. You wait online for a long time. There is a lot of hassle, a lot of headache, a lot of delays in the resolution of a certain problem that a customer can have. So our customers are so happy that they can only call one number and we see immediately what is happening with the transaction, where is the challenge, and we can resolve it very quickly. So customer service, we know it's very, very important. And we have heard a lot of stories especially with the overseas call centers. A lot of people are very frustrated in a lot of industries. So that's why we decided to go a different route and have all American based company with all American customer service.
Right. Thank you guys so much. I think you plugged something in there. We can help merchants. All right, perfect. Thank you guys again so much for coming on Real Estate Power Play. Again, one more time, how can they reach out to you one more time?
So the company number is 828-214-5550. And the email is support or sales at paymentcollect.com.
Great. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Real Estate Power Play. If you like what you hear, please go ahead and share. And also we'll post in the comments wherever you're watching this or listening to it in the notes. We'll have their phone number in the email as well. So thank you guys again for another episode of Real Estate Power Play. Be well.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark. And thank you everybody who is watching us and listening to us. We truly hope you gain some very powerful knowledge that will help you in your business.